What's up, everybody? Welcome to Inside the Game, your one source for absolutely everything cool in video games. Now, you can be a part of the show by going to insidethegame.ca and submitting your cool clip and ending off our show. Every day right now, Monday to Friday, we are live at 10 a.m. Eastern over on twitch.tv/theofficialitg. So swing by and hang out with us. Now, our episode this week is absolutely jammed with reviews. Everything from becoming a shark to visiting Minecraft dungeons and even a high-speed racer. So let's get started with the Inside Scoop.
Alright, all you Fallout 76 fans, I know there's some kind of confusing information going on. Bethesda announced last week that there's going to be a season pass style system being implemented into Fallout 76 over the course of the next summer, fall, and winter seasons. And they kind of laid out a bit of a roadmap, but the problem was that some players were confused on what seasons were going to be offered as free, because that was the big draw here, is Bethesda said they were going to be offering the seasons for free. But the way they worded it made it sound like it was maybe only going to be the summer season. But in a recent tweet, Bethesda Studios has come out and said, to clarify, our seasons in Fallout 76 are going to be free for all players. We may add extra Fallout first bonus rewards in the future, but want to focus on getting Season 1 in-game first and seeing everybody's thoughts on it. So overall, it's a nice thing to see that Bethesda is going to be doing this for Fallout 76, seeing that, the ton of issues they've had with this game since launch. I know they've made lots of improvements since, and there's still a huge fan base for this, but at the same time, it took them 6 days to come out with this response for kind of a simple answer. So I don't know, just take that as what you may, but you know what, for Fallout 76 fans, I think this is gonna be pretty exciting to get a bunch of free content coming your way.
The great big hole left by E3 this year is at least in part being filled by the New Game Plus Expo, and that's going to be a Twitch exclusive on June 23rd. Now, this is a coalition of 14 development companies and publishers coming together to show off dozens and dozens of games in what's going to be a Twitch exclusive show. Afterwards, they're going to take all the clips and upload those to YouTube and the various sources. So stay tuned for more on the lineup coming up soon. With the likes of Idea Factory, Kai Tecmo, and Sega of America, we're excited to see what they unveil, so pay attention to the near future when they unveil more of a lineup as to what they're going to announce and when.
We finally got the gameplay reveal of Ghost of Tsushima, one of my most anticipated titles this year, of course, following The Last of Us Part 2. Now, we got a little bit of gameplay reveal, but we also got some background history as to where the inspiration came from for this game and this art style. Jason Connell, the creative art director, went on to say that Zelda Breath of the Wild and Shadow of the Colossus were some of the biggest titles that he took the inspiration from. Open world, minimalist art style, and a less than over-the-top hub to follow, being it's really just empty. So it's kind of up to you to discover, and that's what the whole game is based off of: exploration. How do you find your way? Well, follow the wind.
Microsoft has announced that they're having the Flight Simulator closed beta coming mid-July. There hasn't been a whole lot of details on how you're going to be able to get in right now. Right now there's happening to be a closed alpha going on exclusively on Windows PCs. They haven't said what platforms it's going to be available on. All we know is that mid-July is when we're going to be getting this closed beta. And I know all these Flight Sim fans out there are super pumped for this one because it looks awesome. Let's check it out.
Serious Sam is a title that's not talked about too often nowadays. Well, Serious Sam 4 is launching on Steam and Google Stadia first. this August 2020. And if you pre-order now, you'll get up to 90% off the first trilogy of Serious Sam. Serious Sam 4 promises to be a lot of fun with 4-player co-op, and taking advantage of the new consoles and state of gaming nowadays, they can fit thousands and thousands of new and old enemies on screen for you to destroy.
Well, it looks like rumors could be true that Sam Fisher might be coming back. Kind of. It looks like there could be a tie-in with Rainbow Six Siege Season 3. Now, at this point, I'm kind of just looking for a Splinter Cell game. Let's be honest. Somebody needs to get on it over at Ubisoft. I don't know what they're doing, but all they're doing is bringing tie-ins. And there's rumors floating that Sam Fisher is bringing his organization to the Rainbow Six family. So there's snippets of information referring to operators Scout and Jordan. Probably just code names for now. No guarantees here. However, the operator Scout reportedly falls under the world of Echelon, the home of Sam Fisher in the Splinter Cell program. And the other operator, Jordan, comes and falls under the group of Night Haven, the same private military organization as Kali and Wami. So let's be honest, do we need another Splinter Cell tie-in, or do we just need a Splinter Cell game? Right? Like somebody, give me Ubisoft. I need Ubisoft on the phone. All right, Scott, you ready to go golfing?
Oh, I'm ready.
Well, Scott, you and I went golfing with Golf With Your Friends, and you and I had a bit of a different experience. What was your overall impressions of Golf With Your Friends from Blacklight Interactive?
Yeah, my first impressions of this game were I have a hunger that I wasn't aware of for a mini-putt kind of game that you can play with friends, and I'm a big fan of couch co-op, so I gave this one a whirl, and it has some flaws to it, but I definitely had a good time with this one. What was your first impression?
Well, so I played a lot of mini golf games, and my first impression didn't really strike home, to be honest. It has a bit of a struggle with the fact that each course, over the 12 holes that they have allow you to go in and play, the courses are all themed, which I appreciate, but the theme is very lacking with each course. So if you go into the pirate theme, for an example, they have a skull, which is awesome. Makes a lot of sense, Scott, to be there, but it's not there until you get onto like hole 15 or near the end of the course. And there's a lot of those lacking themes throughout the entire game per course that I thought was just unfortunate. It needed to be there to drive home the fact that I am on a pirate course. Give me ships, give me chests, give me, anchors, some swords, whatever. Make it really dominate within that, and so I feel like I'm in a pirate theme and then have them interactive as well, like the one they have of the skull. Like if you shot hard enough and hit the right angle, you're able to go through the nose, which then carried on to other aspects of the course, which was awesome, but it wasn't there throughout a lot of it. So that's a big problem for me. And then overall graphically, man, it was just really lacking. I think if they would have had the polish and made it look like they're going for a cartoony feel, right? Absolutely very cool. I can appreciate it. Instead, I got clipping and like just muted graphics and things I don't really care for, unfortunately, to drive home a solid experience. And it's really, overall, Scott, it kind of felt really lacking to me.
Yeah, those are both really good points. I like the fact that they did go with somewhat of a cartoony look, but they didn't go the full measure. Even if it was just cell shaded on top of whatever's going on, it would have looked a lot cleaner. Sometimes when you often fall off the map or fly off the board, so to speak, and you end up on the floor where there's a bunch of different clipped mesh textures kind of just jumbled together. It's not a very good look. That's for sure. I had a couple other issues where I would be too close to an object or something when I would go to hit the ball, and it would just bounce around all crazy and get like a weird trajectory. So there's definitely some a little bit of polish that's needed on this one. I think you're also correct when it comes to the theming of the levels. I played the space station one right off the start because I really like space, and it took until like round 15 or 16 or something before the anti-gravity really took off and the levels really got imaginative. Before that, it was just kind of skinned to look like spacey aluminum or something.
It's just not enough.
No, it wasn't heavy enough that I would have really enjoyed it. The only time it was heavy enough was for the worms level. So there's 11 courses out at the moment, and the 11th one is the worms, and it's super busy. There's so much explosions and like airplanes flying overhead, and tanks shooting, and bombs falling. It looks really cool, and I wish they had been that stuck to the theme for all of the courses. The Candyland one comes to mind. It's skinned very colorful and looks nice, but it doesn't really have anything Candyland. You know, there's no weird candy canes to bounce off of. It was very relaxed, and more
which is
just
unfortunate.
It's
a missed opportunity is what it is, Scott. Like, if they were to follow suit with the Worms theme that they did, and first of all, shout out to Team 17 for giving them the ability to do that, to use one of Team 17's properties in Worms and bring it over into Golf with Friends. I thought was fantastic, and is easily the best golf course they have within the game. Like you said, the rest of them are just, you're hit or miss. I found one hole would be great, the next hole would be okay, and then the hole after that would suck. Like, it was just unfortunate that I was just having too many issues. Like, it wasn't consistent enough. If everything was okay, that would be better than having a good map, get your hopes up, go into an okay course, and then get followed up by a really awkward or bad one. Like, and when I mean awful, I'm talking about the Dino stage. That course is one of the worst within the game, and because of the issues that you have in it, like, there's this one hole, Scott, that you have rib cages from a dinosaur. Dude, makes absolute sense. But again, this goes later on within the course itself. But then to get through all the rib cages doesn't make any sense if it's a golf ball. The ball needs to roll. I can't roll in between these cages. Instead, I'm bouncing. And the problem is, Scott, I can't predict or expect my ball to go somewhere. Like, I'm looking to aim for the pin, and it doesn't, because I'm hitting one of the rib cages, which then bounces to another one and then bounces off another one. So you have no predictability or what to expect when you're playing that course at all. And I was getting mad, and it was frustrating, and then my time just ran out. And that's the other thing. You are timed for each hole. You have 2 minutes. To have a free look, so you can actually take your time. Not really, because you have 15 seconds to browse around to figure out where the pin is. Why they have that, I don't know. Scott, you did mention to me earlier off camera that you can change that.
That is one of the saving graces about it, is for all of these pitfalls that the game does have, there is a customization where you can change just about everything about the game type, including you can change it to a puck or a different kind of ball. Like, that kind of tweak, it changes the courses. So it makes me think that maybe some of these courses, like the dinosaur, were kind of designed with the party aspect involved, where you have double jump ability and different power-ups that would help you kind of get through that. But it's not fair when you're just playing classic mode, and it's really difficult. Another thing that's interesting about the customization is that you can tweak how your ball looks as opposed to somebody else's. You can change the color, you can change the trail of it, and you can add like a topper. So mine is a little golden ducky.
That's awesome. I have a dino head on top of mine, so it just rests on top as your ball travels the course. I actually really like that part. It's probably one of the coolest features within the game. But overall, as you said, Scott, there's a party mode. All right, so you can play up to 12 friends, online, offline, have a great time playing co-op. But if you're playing co-op and you have so many people, why can't you have other controllers connected? You're all sharing one controller, and it just seems awkward from a couch co-op perspective. I appreciate the fact that they have couch co-op. Love it. Kind of would hope that would be there, but at the same time, you can't add another controller, which is just weird to me.
Yeah, that and you're unable to bring a guest online. So you can play offline or online, but you can't really mix the two. And that's just kind of one little nitpick that would really open this game up to a lot of players.
Well, Scott, there was our golf experience with Golf with Your Friends from Blacklight Interactive. What do you score in this one?
Well, the game does have some holes, like we've pointed out, but I did have overall a really good time playing with somebody else on the couch. The games can go pretty long, and that music is only really good for the first few minutes, but that's my only real problem with this game. I want to give this one a 6.5 out of 10.
I think that's fair. I'm a little bit lower than you. I think there's just too many potholes within each course. You never know what you're expecting or what you can predict at times, and the fact that the themes aren't there that are predominant enough for each of them just cuts me down to a 5.5.
Drew and I had mixed opinions on this one. This is a fun multiplayer experience with a lot of levels and customization. However, the themes are not fully explored, and the visuals are disappointing at times.
All right, Nate, are you ready? We're going to go crawl around in a couple dungeons.
Oh yeah.
Shout out and thanks to Microsoft for hitting us up with a review code for Minecraft Dungeons. Nate, you and I went dungeon crawling in Minecraft Dungeons. This is the latest out of Xbox coming our way for the Minecraft series. What'd you think of this one coming from Mojang?
Well, man, I actually like the spin that they took with this game. Growing up, I loved Gauntlet, I love Baldur's Gate, I love Diablo, I love this whole action RPG genre. And, when I heard Minecraft was going to do it, I was pretty excited, and getting my hands onto it, they did a pretty good job, man. This game, it's not overly complicated, it's fair, there's not a ton of depth, but there's enough depth to kind of just make you want to play through the entire game, at least once.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was easy and quick to get into. Very accessible, I think, honestly. I'm impressed with the fact that they're able to take the Minecraft franchise and kind of manipulate it into other genres, bringing in this ARPG aspect to it, right? You and I were talking about this off camera. And it is a cool experience. It's not a very long experience, but again, it's also coming in at $25, so that's something to kind of keep in mind. But they do have plans to expand later on. But for the most part, the story is based around the Illager, the Illager is the one who's kind of taken over, and you're just off to help out your villagers from the Illager, which is kind of a weird spin, but either way, man, it's funny.
Yeah, so basically this Illager kind of stumbles upon this all-powerful orb, and once he kind of grabs a hold of this orb, he becomes consumed in power and wants to take over everything. So you, being one of the villagers, and then you're up to 3 other friends, locally or online, you have to kind of take back, the kingdom slowly. And I thought it was pretty good. There's about 8 to 9 different missions, maybe a little more. There's a couple secrets, but all the biomes that they used from the Minecraft were implemented very well.
It did feel like the Minecraft world was taken care of right here. It felt like it is predominant within the experience, but there is obviously a lot of differences between the two genres as well, right? Coming from the Minecraft, we're so used to just busting apart the world and then creating and crafting things. Where here, there's more of a linear story, more of a linear level design as well. It's not as open. You're kind of going from point A to point B with a couple little side turns here or there to go explore, but nothing compared to what we're used to in the world of Minecraft.
No, and I kind of appreciated the approach because they did have a couple things like you said, usually it'll split off and one way will be a dead end, but there's usually loot at the end of it, or you find a fancy tavern or a cave. So it's with these kind of games, those things are needed, and it's fun. There's tons of loot while you're playing. Basically the whole game is you have 3 pieces of gear. You have your weapon, your melee weapon, your ranged weapon, and then your armor, and then you have up to 3 artifacts, they're called, which are basically like skills or abilities. So while being able to explore the map as you please or doing just the story, you're gaining all this loot, and all this loot has a power level. So you're kind of constantly increasing your power level as well as your base level, and each time you level up your base level, you gain enhancement points. And these enhancement points are then used to upgrade all your weapons and armor. So it's pretty cool. Like they have tons of different little passive abilities and skills all within these weapons and armors, and it's pretty cool, man.
I think it's an easy step for people to kind of get used to this genre. It's an introduction to the looter systems and such when it comes to these games, because some of them can get really complex. Like you and I play a lot of the Division 2, and there's a lot of stats to kind of, you could sit there for an hour or longer just looking at all your stats and stuff. Where here, you're able just to kind of get in, upgrade your stuff. You want to add a couple charms here or there to upgrade and kind of get those other enhancements, and then from there you just get back into the game. So you're not looking to really micromanage. You're just looking to enhance your stuff to get back out and go to the next dungeon kind of thing, right? So it's cool.
It's very simple. When you upgrade a weapon, you, like I said, with those enhancement cores, once you find another piece of gear that's better, which you do often find, you just then quickly break down the other gear, get all your points back, and additional coins. And this game, you're kind of just collecting currency to use it on 2 things. There's basically 2 different merchants that you have, and one sells you weapons or armor, and the other one sells you artifacts.
I kind of was hoping for a bit more from your campsite, right? I wanted a bit more around there to kind of feel like I had more things to do and accomplish, but the game is so simplistic that I guess it kind of didn't really need it. But at the same time, there were a couple minor issues I had playing the game, Nate. You and I played online a lot, and that experience sometimes was hindered by a lot of lag from the servers. The servers are kind of a little rocky, to be honest, at the moment. It kicked me out once throughout my play session. And the other biggest problem I kind of don't like is how the TNT system works, because it's tied to your shooting your arrows, your bow and arrow, your crossbow, whatever weapon you may have. It's still tied and connected to the same thing. So if you're loaded up with the TNT and you want to shoot your arrow instead of the TNT, you don't really have a choice. It's TNT first with your arrow following second.
Yeah, the default button mapping, I don't know. I thought that was a little strange because, like you said, man, your melee weapon, yeah, you do use it often, but, man, I don't know. There's a lot of cases where there's lots of ranged enemies, and you don't necessarily want to use it to kill 3 or 4 guys. You want to save it for that cluster of 8 or whatever, right? So that is a little bit frustrating. And the leg spikes, it is a little bit hindering. Offline mode, I had, honestly, no issues. So the online, maybe they just need to do a couple updates just from the little bit of bad experiences we had.
Well, Nate, I think you and I have crawled around in the dungeons of Minecraft long enough. What do you score in this game?
Oh man, I really like the lighthearted story of this game. I like the loot system. It's simple. It's really good to, bring kids or newcomers into this genre. So all in all, I had a great time. 7.5 for me, man.
Nice. You know what? I'm just a little bit above you. I think it was so accessible for everybody to jump into. It's that family game we're kind of looking for as well. We've had the Animal Crossing, but now we got a different take for something else, and it's going to keep that family bond growing. Whether you're doing couch co-op or online, it's there, and it's so easily to be able to be played. So I'm there with an 8.
All in all, this game is a complete package. A great way to just casually play an action role-playing game with your friends, or to teach newcomers of the genre on how to play these types of games. A fun, lighthearted story with all the quirks and fun Minecraft brings, except one thing: no mining.
God, watch out! It's a Maneater.
This season on Maneater, everyone's biting off more than they can chew.
Oh, look at
Scott, you and I jumped into a very cool game called Maneater, but I'm gonna hit this up in a little different direction and kind of give everybody my issue I'm having with the game. And I want everybody to kind of take this with a grain of salt, because what's going on right now is I'm playing Maneater on the Xbox One X, and I'm experiencing a huge problem in the fact that when I play, I am 20 to 25 minutes in, and the game crashes my entire Xbox. Now, having said this, the minute my Xbox shuts down, I automatically run to my Xbox, turn it back on, reboot it, and jump right back in. Now, this is my perspective. I'm having a blast with the game. Scott, you're not experiencing the hiccup that I am currently. Now, the thing is, I've also reached out to the dev team over at Tripwire and everybody over there, and we're communicating back and forth, and no one can seem to figure out what's going on. So, we'll give you an update later on, but at the same time, I want everybody to be aware of there is an issue on my Xbox, but at the same time, it could be just my Xbox, and we aren't 100% sure as to what's going on. But the overall game, on the other hand, though, you play as a shark, and, well, he's hungry. Let's just put it that way. She's a hungry shark. Scott, how are you figuring out Maneater, buddy? What do you think of this game?
Oh man, what a bunch of fun. This I wasn't sure what to think about this game based on the description. It's the trailer is very interesting, and it speaks of a shark getting its vengeance finally. The day of the shark is upon us, and the way you play that out is really fun and interesting. It's kind of like those pond kind of games where you keep eating fish smaller than you and you get bigger and bigger. It's a little bit like that. Based your size is reflected in levels, and as you level up you get bigger, so you take on bigger and badder creatures around your environment to get your health back and to gain experience. It's really cool because it kind of lends to this addictive play style of just getting in and trying to hunt the biggest thing you can.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of fun. They added a lot of really cool things that kind of extend the gameplay, like your ability to evolve bigger and better upgrades for yourself. And again, that just lets you fight more and more creatures around the map. And the map's pretty big.
I think the map's a good size. It's all sanctioned off into certain areas. So you start off in the bayou, and things are a little smaller there, but you do have some apex predators there that you kind of go and hunt afterwards. And then there's things like treasure to go unlock. You know, there's certain little aspects and kind of hidden things throughout the level, but it's all about getting your shark to the next level and upgrading your next perk. And then you run into the fact that, of course, you're a shark, and what do? You want to eat humans, and the more humans you eat, then it kind of brings up this level, and that level is then turns into you being hunted. It's almost kind of like a GTA experience where you level up your stars, and then all of a sudden your wanted level is like insane.
Yeah.
And the more you increase your level, the more hunters then become after you. They start to hunt you down, and then that unlocks a bounty hunter. And then when that bounty hunter pops up, you can then chew him, eat him up, her up, whatever it is, and then you gain a perk off of that, right? So it's really, man, there's so many aspects of this game that I didn't expect. I knew it was kind of this semi-open world shark experience, but I didn't expect the skill tree to be in it. I didn't expect myself going to hunt other smaller creatures and look for certain organisms that they're related to. So some will be food and power, and like there'd be other different stats you gotta hunt in order to upgrade certain perks, like having shock teeth. The electrical shock teeth are cool, the fins. Like there's certain aspects of this thing, man, that really just kind of blew me away. And that's why I said when my stuff kind of goes south, I started right back up because I just want to keep playing.
Yeah, the game, the quality of that experience is really just so much fun that even though you're faced with these technical issues, it's still worth it to jump back in. That says something about the game. Now bear with me, it's got a weird resemblance, and I'm just kind of seeing this now with the first Crackdown. Now, I know that sounds
Okay.
kind of weird, but you kind of grind
Yeah.
off of smaller enemies, and they get progressively stronger and stronger. You kind of level yourself up with that and become stronger yourself. You have the ability to trickle into areas that are kind of out-leveled for you, but you can poke around, and you can kind of maybe sneak away with a kill or not. The levels are kind of segmented, but you unlock, as you get bigger, you unlock the ability to move around them, and they kind of each are representative of kind of a different water area. You have like a swampy bayou and then like a city harbor. Really cool variants there. But yeah, I'm seeing a lot of striking weird resemblances to this open third-person game that's just a little different, but really fun nonetheless. I think that's why this game is hitting me. The collectibles around the map too give you just a lot to come back around the area for.
It makes you want to stick around.
Yeah, and I never find myself bored because there's just something in the area for me to grab. So I really did enjoy my experience with this one.
Yeah, you know, that's what I said. It caught me by surprise, right? And I think the overall shark mechanic, this swimming through the water, it's a little tricky to target on like the barracudas sometimes.
Yeah.
When you are, there's a transition between going out of the water and into the water. And to duck under the water is another step within that, right? So you can kind of get a little hung up between moving between the open air and under the water, and then when you're trying to lock onto a target, when a barracuda's at you or an alligator, that transition can sometimes get a little muddled, right? You're kind of all over the place in search of your target, trying not to get hit, because certain fish or other creatures will attack you, and certain other creatures will not attack you, right? So the smaller, you know, like the guppies, like the groupers and those kind of fish.
You end up just taking
just
out a turtle that just happened to be swimming by, and instead of the alligator that's really the issue. Yeah, they really would have benefited, I think, from adding a lock-on system instead of the kind of just there is like a lock-on like
it's like a light semi-lock-on, right?
Yeah, it just highlights
target reticule.
the biggest target, but then it just lets go. Yeah, it's not quite right, but even with that issue, it's still fun combat. It's fun.
Addictive. It's really addictive. Absolutely. Got the main stories all centered around your shark, but also a crazy little kooky character by the name of Scaly Pete. Scaly Pete is kind of your antagonist, your enemy of the sea kind of thing, who's out there to hunt down sharks. And he's got a bit of a backstory I do not want to give away, but it's a cool story to actually see it unfold. And then as well, it's kind of told in this narration story outtake, kind of almost like you see on a Discovery Channel.
Yeah, it's a very non-serious narrator is present with you during your whole growth and life, and it's very comic relief, but well placed. I like it. It wasn't too corny at times. It was just threading the line.
Yeah, no, I thought they nailed it. I thought it brought a sense of charm to the game. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
Destruction of natural coastal habitats is sometimes necessary to build vacation homes for private equity fund partners.
Well, Drew, we chomped all of our Jaws fantasies out. What would you give this game if you're going to put it out of 10?
Maneater, for me, is a unique experience, one in a lifetime, I think, one that completely caught me by surprise. Graphically, I think it's really nice. It's cool to experience the underwater feel of the shark. I think the controls are really kind of stands out and surprised me as well. There's a lot of charm behind the game, and overall, man, I just want to eat more and more fish, alligators, sharks, whatever I can kind of get my hand on, and or jaws on, for that matter. But I'm gonna score this one an 8.5.
Nice. Yeah, I agree with that. This one is just non-serious enough, and a lot of fun that keeps me coming back. It's got the right map size and the right cluster of activities that I find myself addicted to this one. I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10.
Nice. Maneater had us chomping at the bit for more shark action. We just wanted a better lock-on system.
Most shark hunters have close friends or family members who have been eaten or half-eaten by sharks.
All right, Corey, you ready? It's all about speed and a little motion sickness with this one. Corey, you and I checked out a racer this week on the Xbox. We're talking about Antigravity. It is all about speed here, buddy. And it was, man, you know what? So honestly, this kind of gives me a throwback to like the F-Zero series, right?
Oh, yeah,
you know what
definitely.
I mean? Back in the day where you got this little floating ship and stuff, and it was all about speed, and then these tracks. And you got that same sense moving forward into Antigravity, and that sense of speed was so prominent here that it actually made me a little motion sickness after so many races in. I was able to play about 3 or 4 races at a time, and then it was so fast that I almost felt like I was in VR. It was that motion sickness feeling because it was so quick.
Oh yeah, you know what? You're bang on with it. It's the first thing. As soon as starting up this game, I'm like, this looks and feels like F-Zero Racer, just you know, a more polished, updated graphical version. And
great.
again, yeah, it's an arcade racer, right? We're not into it's not a sim racer by any means. We're not playing Forza. We're playing this arcade style racer where we get, you know, this space shuttle style ship, and we are moving at speeds that, like you said, are so fast on screen. It feels pretty immersive because of the camera angle that you can't change in this game. Your viewpoint is very close to the back of your vehicle, so you're very close to the track, and the track is just whipping by you the whole time. And like you said, after a few races, I had to put it down for a second because I was like, holy man, like it's almost a little overwhelming because, yeah, okay, they say it's all about speed and there's no speed limits, and yeah, when you start hitting the boosts and you chain a bunch of boosts together, like, it's almost impossible to see where you're going because things are like a blur on the screen. And that's where I found this one to be even more difficult, was the fact that because I'm moving so fast, or everything on the screen is going by so fast, I had such a hard time steering the vehicle. Like, it was, the steering was very sensitive to me. I don't know how you found it.
No, absolutely, it was sensitive, and if you weren't able to time your turns properly, you're crushing into a wall, which would then obviously like slow you down drastically compared to everybody else.
A complete stop. Like, every once in a while you hit something and it would just be like dead stop, and you're like, oh man, everybody's flying by it.
Well, exactly, and then you're trying to play catch up, right? But so I found myself though, because there's no course map on the HUD for you to look at, so you don't know what turn is coming, right?
No, it's just a straight line. It just shows your position in comparison to everybody else.
Exactly. So you don't get the sense of where you're heading next like you do with a lot of other racer games. At the same time, you don't have the time to take your eyes off the center of the track to even look for that, because it is so fast. But man, I found myself hitting a couple straights and then a couple turns, and you're able to keep that motion going from one speed boost into the center of the track and then timing your turn properly and then back in. I felt myself in this almost like snake-like motion, and it was so fluid and smooth, and it felt fantastic until I crushed into a wall, which then completely halted me to an almost near stop. But that was only, like, I want to say that was my fault though for hitting the wall, right?
Yeah.
But when I got that snake-like motion, it felt so good. It was really great to have that sense of flow on the track, but you're not getting in like left-hand sharp 90-degree turns. You're getting these
more of a
S-bends kind of a style, right? So
gradual swoop kind of thing. Yeah.
you're not hitting you should be hitting the brake, I guess, to a certain extent, but I never did, man. I'm like full speed all the way, but then you get that motion blur that you're like, whoa, that's hitting hard. So I got to give it to them that you do get that sense of speed that your anti-graviator is getting, and the fact that your placement too is on the back of your ship, because you don't have time to, again, look up at anywhere. You see your placement there, which I thought was really cool too. I like that little addition that I know where I am at all the time.
Yeah, it's, your viewpoint doesn't sway much when you play this game. Like you said, you're very, to be good at this game, or to do well in the races, because the computer AI is very competitive. It's not easy to win races. And I'm before I go on too much of a long tangent here, the campaign mode that you jump into there isn't much to it. It's, you kind of jump into like a novice, rookie, advanced kind of series style of races, where there's 4 different races in each. Some of them are just, try to place as high as you can. Some of them are elimination style races where, the lowest man on the totem pole gets dropped after the lap, kind of thing. So there's a couple game modes mixed into the campaign that I thought were, it was nice to see. It's not just a straight up race every time, and we do have items. But what I found was it was so hard to get first place. I found it so difficult to get first place in some of these races that I think the learning curve, because of the speed element in this game, is going to be tough for some people to get into, because if you're used to racing games, this is its own entity. Like the braking in this game, like you said, you didn't really use it that much. I tried to slow myself down to try to learn how to steer the ship a little more, but the problem is the steering's so sensitive, and the braking's just as sensitive. If I hold the brake for any longer than maybe half a second, I'm almost at a full stop in the vehicle. Like, it's very stop go. So if you're not feathering that brake properly, you might as well just be standing still. So I don't know, like there's some elements of this game. We've got the local co-op, which I think is great. Every racing game should have it. I mean, we've reviewed some that don't have local co-op, so it's nice to see that these guys have thought about this. There is an online as well, online race, which is kind of nice too. There's a battle mode. Like, there's a few other things than just your standard race game here, and I think that's kind of what helps. What'll help people, I guess, really get into this. But I don't know, man. There's just, the learning curve for this really made it difficult for me. Like, I don't know how much more of this game I want to play. I think I'd rather just go back and play like F-Zero, in my personal opinion, man. It's just, I don't know. This one was a tough one for me.
I enjoyed it overall. I was able to hit first a couple times, not too much. Like you said, that the AI is challenging. They are there, and they're not light to take lightly either, because they are there to challenge you. And if you do mess up, man, they're right past you.
Catch up is real in this game. Yeah, they're right behind you. So
yeah, they're right on your tail the whole time. So if you miss a boost, sometimes they'll hit the boost and they'll be right past you. So to play that catch up, and then you earn stuff as well. So you're unlocking and upgrading ships and things like that. But overall, Corey, I felt it kind of simplistic, and the fact that I didn't feel the sense, okay, the campaign is there, but it's not really a campaign in the sense that there is no story.
No, it's just,
you know what
races.
I mean? You're just there doing races over races over races. So when you get in the repetitive motion, it's just, how long do you want to just keep doing the same thing essentially over and over again?
Yeah, it's there are differences in the tracks. Like the graphics of this game are great. Like the cars look really cool. They, like I said, they make the speed seem so real. We got sick playing the game. I mean, it's like you got to give them the kudos where it's due here. But at the same time, it's just there's parts of this game that just feel kind of like, it is an arcade game, and it feels very arcadey, and it's just one of those games that I don't know if it has that lasting power, right? Like, are you gonna keep coming back to this racing game over some of the other ones that are out there right now? I don't know. I mean, it's just, I feel like it's a niche market for this one.
Absolutely. Well, Corey, after the speed's been blowing through your hair, what do you score in Antigraviator?
Okay, well, you know what? I know I was kind of, ripping on it a little bit, but there are things about this game that are good. Like we said, the graphics are good. The audio take in this game is really good. Good retro electronic music. Really gets you in the feel of an arcade racer. I just don't know if there's enough here with this game, and I just think for anybody that wants to get into racing games or is just looking for a quick, easy one to pick up, I don't know if this one's it. So for me, I got to give it a 5 out of 10.
I'm a little higher than you. I like that sense of speed. I think you get that so early on that I think they did such a great job making sure that you know how fast you're going. You get that rush. And as you said, like, it looks great. The music is awesome. The tracks are really cool. But overall, the campaign is just kind of there to help kind of keep you going for race after race. But how long does that last? So I'm there with the 6.5.
Antigravity is a fast-paced, arcade-style game that brings back those F-Zero feels, but the difficult AI and lightning speed you travel at may cause you to put this one down sooner rather than later. Alright, Scott, this week, grab your pickaxe because we're digging deep. So this week, Scott, we're checking out Valka Noise on the PC through Steam. This kind of survival steampunk. I mean, it is a survival game completely here with this steampunk kind of overlay. What did you think of this one? It was really interesting. I haven't really played one like this before.
Yeah, well, my first impressions of this game were that everything's a little weird looking. I don't mean that in an offensive tone, but it's just... it's a very PC game, if you know what I mean. There's a lot of text on screen, and the menu system can be kind of confusing and very aggressive. So it kind of threw me off there because it is a first-person shooter, and it is, advertised with some heavy action and shooting and that sort of thing. So I was pleasantly surprised to get past the menu system and get into the action, and I think that's where this game excels. But what was your first impression?
Well, it kind of throws you into the game like really quickly. I found the game loaded up super fast. I jumped right into the first little bit of the tutorial to try to kind of learn about the game and figure out what was going on. So you get a few real kind of basic missions to start off through this sea captain. And he kind of gives you, the layout of kind of what you're going to be dealing with throughout the course of this game. Because you're going to be taking over a drilling ship and kind of drilling your way around this island that you now are on. And you're going to be, mining a bunch of resources and upgrading your ship and doing all this while there's a active volcano. And this is kind of where it threw me for a bit of a loop. Because you kind of get tossed in, and this timer's right at the top of the screen, and depending on what difficulty you set it on depends on how much time you have before the volcano erupts each time. And you have to do a lot of tasks sometimes in between, this short period of time before you have to dive back down underground. And like you said, there's a lot of text in this, so you're reading a lot. And so you're trying to figure out exactly what, procedures you need to do while you're on your ship, whether it's upgrading or adding certain materials to make certain things to allow you, to move along, or add a piece of equipment to your ship. Like I added turrets fairly early on, which was kind of nice and pretty cool because they actually worked pretty well.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot to take in. So I mean, I don't know. I guess through that whole rant, what I'm saying is there's, it's a little overwhelming. My first impressions were that I was a little overwhelmed. There was a lot to, really consume in this, and there's a lot of information to take in. And I don't know if that's necessarily the nicest thing to, have your game be approachable, right? This one was a little difficult to get into.
Yeah, that's definitely my observation from this as well, is that I had a very difficult time getting into this one, just because the gameplay is a lot of scavenging. It's a lot of survival where you're fighting waves and waves of these robots. And
but they're everywhere.
They are everywhere. They occupy other drill ships, and that becomes a point of gameplay as well. It is really cool, and it's a big kind of game they present to you very early on. I was super overwhelmed by the crafting section. There was a lot of things that, in my opinion, were kind of overcomplicated. If they left a lot of that menu work to the ship to handle and allowed me just to kind of dump my resources into it and pick what I wanted out of it, I feel like that there's maybe cleaner ways they could have gotten away with that and produced, the same effect in a more user-friendly interface.
Yeah, for sure.
I wanted to enjoy this game further. The premise of it is really cool, and the timer, when that volcano blows up, it changes the landscape, and it kind of refreshes the map with resources. It's a really cool game mechanic, and I thought it adds that urgency to whatever you're doing on the overworld. I added a section to my ship early on, and so I have this really long, snaky kind of drill ship, and I think that's really cool because I like the ability to make something bigger than my character. I think that's cool. But
yeah.
It's just so hard to understand what I need to do or what's really available to me, that it didn't hook me like maybe it should have.
Yeah, you know what? There are tutorial missions all the way along if you do so, choose to do them. They're not necessarily, a prerequisite. You don't have to always be doing the tutorial missions that come up on the phone in your ship, because there is so much you can just freely do in this game. Like you said, it's a lot of scavenging, so you're picking up materials, whether it's off the enemies you're killing or you're mining things from the environment around, and then you bring it all back to your ship. And then there's all these modules, whether it's an actual physical piece of equipment that's mounted on the floor of your ship, or it's a panel on the wall that you have to interact with, that you have to take, remember what the symbol means, because this one means production, and unless you're highlighting the actual piece of equipment, you need to kind of really learn all the different pieces that you put into your ship, and it's totally customizable. You can put them however you want. So that feature I thought was really cool. So you can really set it up, even though I know the first ship gets kind of small and dingy. Like you said, you expanded yours. I kind of redid the layout a little bit so I can kind of understand, if I'm producing this, then I put it in this module after it's done and it's close by. So I tried to simplify it myself, but I also had to go in and do that, right? The game doesn't necessarily set you up for that. So again, it is just a tough one to get into, but overall it is a fun game, because like you said, the volcano is a really interesting kind of fun mechanic, that is that race against time, and you're rushing, and then some of the objectives are pretty far away, and then it kind of changes when you take the drill ship underground, which I thought was pretty cool. So when you actually go down into the ground with this drill ship, you get this kind of top-down overlay of like an underground cavern, and you see your drill ship, and you can maneuver it around, and there's lava flows, and you can't be in them for too long, or it causes damage to your ship. So this is this whole little different, I'm not going to call it a mini game, but almost like you're driving through the mini map. And it was a kind of a cool feature. I thought there was, some really interesting things with this game. It's just, it took a lot of work to, figure them all out.
Starting on May 20th, they're also adding co-op to the game. So you'll be able to just invite your friends, and up to 4 people, I believe, in the same crew, kind of messing around in the volcanic island. I think that's really cool, because I think that's definitely how this kind of game will be better received by players. If you have people to kind of help you learn the systems, that can be a fun point in the game. But I kind of see a lot of potential in this game. But if we're gonna score it up as it is, what would you give this one?
Well, like we said, you were a little overwhelmed when we first got into it. Visually, this game is definitely a PC title. It didn't blow me away, but by no means does it look bad. Mm-hmm. I do love the steampunk motif that we have going on. The drill ships are really cool. The enemies even look pretty cool for being kind of basic robots, even though for the most part they're just changing colors. Yeah. It all looked really good. I did enjoy it, but there was so much to figure out in this game, and it was difficult to get into. So for that, I've got to give it a 6.5.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same mind in a lot of those. It was just overcomplicated for no specific reason that I can tell. Mm-hmm. And the multiplayer is going to go a long way for this game, but I kind of want to see how it morphs in the near future. It is a small developer, so I want to give them kind of the benefit of the doubt there. I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 10.
There's a base for a great game here. The volcano mechanic really puts the pressure on, but you getting bogged down early by confusing processes and procedures make this one really hard to get into.
Well, that's it. That'll wrap up this week's show. So many reviews on this week's episode. Now, each and every week, you guys can be a part of the show by going to insidethegame.ca. And this week, we got Puma kicking it off, seeing that it's more than one way to take out your target in Rainbow Six. Thanks so much for sticking around, and we'll see you next week inside the game.
Secure the bombs. Piss deployed. Reloading! Piss in position. Then stop worrying about grenades. He's ready. Bomb location compromised. Plan accordingly. Drone hack. Device set. 10 seconds to insertion. Be advised, Op 4 has found a bomb. 5 seconds. Op 4 has located a bomb.